1191, Bill of Rights for persons who are homeless, I wanted to kind of set the stage for what's going to happen in the next, let's say, 4 hours. Tell us about House Bill 1191.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee members. As you know that, excuse me, I'm still a little disheveled here. As you know, House Bill 1191, this is its second time in the legislature. We brought it last year. And there was a concern about the bill last year, particularly with the issue of the individual right of action, where a person who is homeless feels that they were being discriminated against, harassed, or what have you by either a city, a municipality or county, or an individual business, that they would have an individual right of action. So the bill failed in committee, and we got together with the homeless community as well as other new communities, and we said, you know, look, we really should rethink that part of the bill. And they did. They said, okay, fine, let's go ahead and take it out. And we did. We took it out of the bill. And now you have in front of you a bill that just essentially says to municipalities and to counties throughout the state of Colorado that they are no longer to criminalize homelessness. Now, I've spoken with a few of you that what municipalities and what counties are doing is not original. We have seen this language and we've seen this kind of action throughout the history of our country. They were known as Jim Crow laws. They were known as the slave codes or the black codes. And they were also known as laws that pertain to other minority groups, other communities of color. This is not new. Where a municipality brings in an ordinance that targets a particular group of individuals because those individuals are considered to be unsavory. Who are we talking about? We're talking about United States veterans, people who have fought for our country. In fact, we'll show you a picture of somebody here in just a little bit who served from 2000 to 2008, who is now homeless. Someone who fought for your right to sit where you are sitting, to protect our form of government, to protect our way of life. And there have been some in the House of Representatives who wanted to make fun of that, make fun of this bill. But what we're talking about is veterans. This bill aims to stop the criminalization of the homeless. When you criminalize someone, it makes it more difficult for them to get a job, to hold a job. And you'll see through the DU Law Report and the people we have come to testify, you will see that the criminalization of the homeless is extremely costly. That money that it costs to criminalize the homeless could be best used elsewhere to try and help out those who are homeless. So for the moment, I'm going to rest right there and turn it over to my good friend, Representative Melton, and then we have a short video for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. What House Bill 1191 does is it calls for fair and equal treatment of all people, especially in public places. No one should have a different right than another person. I shouldn't be able to use a public space and you not be able to use that same space. Representative Salazar had mentioned how this has been done in the past with Jim Crow laws, with laws that discriminated against people based on their race. I went to the University of Colorado, and at one point on that campus, only 50 African Americans were allowed on the campus at the same time. Again, an instance where public space is not being fairly used by other people. So what this bill does is it brings us into a place where we're protecting the rights of all people, regardless of their economic class, regardless of if they have a home or not. It's the right thing to do. Now, I know that some cities and municipalities have concerns around this bill and that they're saying that this impedes on their local control. But members, when a city enacts an ordinance which affects people to a point or to a degree where it drives them out of their jurisdiction and into another's jurisdiction, then that becomes a state issue, one that our chamber needs to address. I can tell you here in the metro area that when the city of Denver enacted an ordinance that banned people from being able to sleep outside, it didn't solve the problem. It pushed the problem into new areas where neighboring communities had no say or had no right to push back against Denver. And that needs to change. Now, I know we'll hear that the ordinances are meant to help the homeless. But how can you help the homeless when you're criminalizing them? How can you help anyone when you cite them and give them a record? And this is being done. The University of Denver recently did a study that showed that Denver is spending $3.2 million on criminalizing people for using the same space that you have the right to use every day. That's not right. And so, members, I ask that you really look at this bill and listen to the testimony today. And let's find a solution. Let's find a solution in this bill which gives people the same rights that you have. Members, I ask for an aye vote. And we're happy to answer any questions. Oh, I'm sorry, we're actually in this video.
Please, you want to show the video now?
Let's go!